Welcome again to section 5. Today's session will be very exciting because we will talk about the 5G Nokia equipment and evolution. Obviously, Nokia is an amazing vendor, especially in the terms of 5G. They have introduced overall, if you're working specifically in the operator, you will know that Nokia equipment is one of the most compact and smart equipment globally. They are very challenging, Huawei and Ericsson, and they are moving very fast towards 5G. Their CEO have mentioned that even now Nokia have 5G commercial contract is even more than Huawei. So I'm very excited to start speaking about Nokia solution today, and then let's continue our course. Now, today we will talk about the next generation of the NodeB or the G-NodeB in 5G. Well, 3GPP release 15 has introduced a new concept of the G-NodeB, and Nokia is very vocal about introducing the solutions. The solution that the G-NodeB is somehow divided into two entities or three entities as compared to what we have been seeing in the 4G. The 4G, the eNodeB was just one entity, and there were not many entities within the eNodeB. But with the 5G and moving forward again with the Open RAN, cloud network, soft-defined network, virtual network, all these solutions, we are trying to be more flexible with our network. That's why in the 3GPP it has divided the G-NodeB into main two parts. One is the G-NodeB central unit, and the other is the G-NodeB distributed unit. So the central unit and distributed unit, both of them are parts of the G-NodeB and located in the G-NodeB, and there's an interface between them which is called F1. So a central unit can have many F1 interfaces connected to many G-NodeB distributed unit, and the distributed unit can cover up to one or many cells depending on the configuration, and we will see this later as we move on. And one more concept here, very important concept to realize in the 5G, that the G-NodeB is more of a logical entity as compared to the 4G, where most of the vendors were focusing on a physical entity, physical hardware and built-in software. So we are moving toward a new solution, not traditional, that we are looking to the wireless equipment or the RAN itself as in a very different way. Back then we have talked about the EBC and make it more virtualized. So you will, if you work it in different operators, you will be able to notice that some operators have already virtualized their core network, where you just able to upgrade it fastly with just adding more shelves and more equipment within the same. RNC and BSC have the same solution, but when it comes to RAN, it was always complicated to virtualize the RAN. But with the new concept of the 3GPP in the 5G, that make the G-NodeB is more flexible toward being revolutionized. So the G-NodeB here is becoming a logical NG-RAN node, providing the new radio user plane and the control plane and termination towards the UE. So the logical entities are a central unit, and here the central unit will focus, or its job will be on the upper layer. This means that the RRC layer and the control plane, and the SDAP and BDCB protocols on the user plane. People who doesn't know SDAP, it's a new protocol in the standalone network, and you will able to get more details from our course of the 5G fundamentals. So the SDAP and BDCB protocol, or the upper protocols, will be the responsibility of the central unit, which controls the operation of one or more distributed unit or G-NodeB DU. The G-NodeB central unit also terminates all the F1 interfaces connected with the G-NodeB distributed unit as per 3GPP 38.41. So let's think is the distributed unit. Then the distributed unit will handle the lower layers. Mean 3 layers, the RLC, the MAC, and the physical layers will be handled by the distributed unit. So the operation of the distributed unit will be partly controlled for sure by the central unit, and it will support one or multiple cells as we have mentioned, and it terminates the F1 interface, which at the end of the day will be connected to the central unit. So with this new concept, the GNodeB is divided into 2 parts. Talking about the deployment itself of the GNodeB. So now what we have introduced is the theoretical part of the GNodeB, how the new concepts are being introduced. So it's a new logical entities which is composed of the central unit and the distributed unit. But from the physical entities, we are dividing this, or Nokia are dividing this into 3 parts: RAC, or the radio access cloud, radio access unit, and radio unit. The radio access cloud is a deployment entity hosting the cloudified functions, and it will most probably handling the layer 2 and the non-real-time functions, which means the radio access cloud will be more towards cloudification as compared to the distributed unit. So, and the radio access unit will be connected to the central unit, as we will see later on. So the radio access unit will be the deployment entity which hosting non-cloudified baseband functions. This means that it will be implemented at the site itself of a GNodeB. And it will have the baseband processing, which is supposed to handle the layer 1 and layer 2 real-time functions. So the non-real-time functions will be held on the radio access cloud, but the non-real-time the real-time functioning will be held in the radio access unit. The radio unit, which is the last unit here, it will be the deployment entity hosting the radio frequency and the main functional of the GNodeB. So to summarize this, the radio access cloud will handle layer 2 and the upper layer non-real-time functions. It will be more cloudified. The radio access unit will handle layer 1, layer 2 real-time functions. It will act as a baseband unit, and the radio unit will handle all the radio frequency functioning at the GNodeB. So the radio unit and the radio access unit are more connected to the distributed unit, and the radio access cloud are more of the function of the GNodeB central unit. In many cases, the radio access unit and the radio unit both together are also commonly referred as a radio access point. So both of them are the radio access point in many definitions. How we transfer this to a hardware building blocks, talking about the hardware specifically. In Nokia, we have said, okay, we have the logical entities as defined by the 3GPP, we have the physical entities, and the central unit will be connected to the radio access cloud. The distributed unit, it will be the scope of the radio access unit and the radio unit, both of them together. And then we connect this to the product itself, which will be the radio access cloud will be into the NCR product, which will be more cloudified. The radio access unit will be the baseband unit, and there is amazing solutions from Nokia called Nokia AirScale System Module, and we will talk in more details about this one, which is acting as a baseband unit that we have explained before, or the concept of Huawei. The baseband is introduced in a masterpiece of Nokia called AirScale, and it's very compact, and we will talk about it. And the AAU is supposed to be the radio unit. The AAU that we have highlighted before was one of the major innovation of Huawei. Most of the vendors have adapted it, and we call it MAA, or Nokia call it Massive MIMO Adaptive Antenna. Different names, but at the end of the day, it's the same product. So by looking into this graphs, we are able to map what we have learned theoretically was what exactly practically as a hardware equipment in Nokia.